Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. And funny enough, our first episode of the year. We're all delighted with you again. I'm joined by a show regular, Ross. How are you?
I'm good, Stephen. How's yourself?
I'm all good, all good. Usually my deadly duo partner is Franny, but we'll go with Penn and Teller here, won't we? So, well,
I will look at the right sizes, certainly.
a wee bit of magic sprinkled onto the show. But before we get cracked into it, I'm hearing there's a wee guest that wants to pop on to say hello to her friend.
Oh, aye, she's absolutely desperate. She wants to be a wee YouTube star, so we'll stick her on now.
Get
Right,
her on.
right in. Right, sit there. Right, go, speak.
Hiya,
Hello, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good.
Are you good?
Hi, Emily.
Are you going for are you going for a sleepover in your friend's house?
Yeah,
Yeah, you looking forward to it?
yeah.
I think Jessica, you're better than your daddy at this because you agree with me a lot more.
I
But I hope you and Emily have a smashing sleepover and have a good time.
will. I
Enjoy
will.
it. You gonna put your daddy back on?
Yeah.
Good.
Are you? Right, okay. Close the door then. Right, good night. Love you. How did
I
that
tell you
go?
something. I tell you something. She laughed when I said I think you're better than your daddy because you agree with me a lot more because you kept going, yeah, and she started laughing.
Aye, she thinks she's better. She does a good impression of me.
She does. You've shared a
You've
few into
heard
the
that.
group chat. She has you down to a T, down to a T. But as I said, I hope her and Emily have a crack of sleepover and big shout out to them. But we'll crack on to our business for us, and that's Celtic Football Club.
Yep.
January. And obviously, this is our first show. We've released our Chase special with Down a Treat, the Ross McCullough review, our rewind we done with the Celtic City Men guys for their charity weekender. And now it's on to the real stuff and into the important thing of things, the transfer windows open, Ross. And before we get into it, it's great to see business done early, isn't it?
Aye, it definitely is. It makes a nice change for what we usually do. And I've said it numerous times that January is a hard month to get things done. Certainly players that you're going to add to the starting 11, but I think it's been well documented that Postecoglou has been like looking at these guys since the summer, that they've been in the pipeline. So it was no surprise to me that they were done early. I mean, how early was a surprise, but they were done even more early than I expected. Let's say that. But I just can't wait to see them get going. And any reports I've heard have all been good, coming for like the training, and a couple of guys that I know are sort of know Celtic a bit. They're a bit no guys in and around the place have said that like they've heard that Maeda's off the charts at times. So I just can't wait to see him in a Celtic jersey in a competitive match.
I think one of his ex coaches described him as a freak of nature, like of a human being that in the top level kind of sprinting, he's up there in the world game. And just to see
Mhm.
him in the flesh, I know we're playing Hibs here on the 17th will be absolutely fantastic. But one thing you're right to allude to, like Celtic have a habit of doing business in January very early on, whether it be loan deals for English players who aren't getting the game towards the end of the January window, bring them in, usually emergencies, Diamansi Kamara, them types of guys. But one thing Ange Postecoglou did say in the summer that he wasn't forceful enough getting his point across, but he's been definitely forceful here, hasn't
Aye. Uh, I mean, you've got to sort of credit the new CEO. That's very difficult to say that. You've got to credit him. He seems to be batting him at the moment to the best of his ability. It looks for the outside looking in that what Ange is asking for, he's getting at the moment. I know it's not a massive outlay of money with these three guys, but it could be great value for money. I've not really, I can't really say a bad word about. Is it Michael Nicholson?
he? Michael Nicholson,
I
yeah.
can't even mind his name. Never mind say a bad word about him. But aye, he seems to be doing a good job so far, and you can't complain about him. My only thing is, it's maybe the slight cynic in me, and I don't like to be cynical, but
You don't like to be cynical?
But I'm just thinking, like, I'm worried that obviously at the minute he seems to be getting back tans, right? And I think it's the cynic in me is thinking, is it partly because they've got absolute no choice but to back him because the squad is so threadbare, and once they've sort of built a squad, are they then going to do what they normally do and revert back to type and rest on their laurels? Once I'm not saying they're definitely going to win the league this year, but will they rest on their laurels again and no keep adding to the squad? Because if they do rest on their laurels, I don't think Ange will hang around.
No,
So
I think he's
that's
made
the
that.
only worry.
He's made that perfectly clear. I do understand where you're coming from. Obviously, when we touch on Michael Nicholson later on the show, we'll get into that in depth. But to touch upon the Japanese players that came in early on, even before the transfer window even opened, Ross, these players were signed. They were in Glasgow, apart from Hatate, but Irigichi and Mieta were already in Glasgow before, I think it was the 1st of January, getting their pictures taken and all that kind of thing. Who's exciting you the most? I know you said Mieta. Is it just what you've heard about him? The speed, his finishing, the way he gets on the pitch?
Well, I mean, it's that old thing. Like you look at YouTube reels and stuff, and everybody can look good in a YouTube reel. We've all said it. We all know it. But any videos I've seen of him, you can see guys and you see YouTube reels and there are a couple of good finishes in there, but it's no just the finishing. He's got the finishing. You can see there's finishes there, but the speed and the strength at times, he winning the ball back, that's on the reels as well. He just looks the real deal. He looks very, very similar to Kyogo, but a stronger player. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be better than Kyogo, but all the signs are there. All the signs are there. And the reels that you've seen, that he is right up there with him, and it's very he excites me the most. The other two, what are they called again? Idiguchi and what's the other one? Hatate. So what one's the midfielder?
Well, they're both midfielders. Like, we had this argument with John. Remember? He had Hatate down as a left back, and he kind of got stroked a cracker when Postecoglou said he's a number 10 type player.
That's
so
right,
they're both midfield players. Like,
aye. Well, I mean, I've not seen as much of them. I've not watched as much reels of them. But Maeda excites me the most. I think he's the one of the three that you'd probably be looking to go more or less straight into the team. The other two, I think they'll be eased in, but it bolsters the squad and it gives us more options. I'm hoping that in the second half of the season we've got up to speed with the training methods and that, and everybody's bodies start getting used to it and start standing up to what's being asked of them, and we don't get as many injuries in the second half of the season. But if we do get some injuries, the squad is a bit stronger.
It definitely is. And touching upon Mieta again, now most of his games, I think he played off the left for his old club, Yokohama Muranos, at Postecoglou. He managed him as well. Do you reckon this is a case of Mieta on the left, Kyogo through the middle, and Jada on the right?
Well, on paper, that sounds how it probably would go.
Exciting.
But I think it'll not be like. I think that could be the front three, but I think it might not be as sort of rigid a front three. I think they'll alternate.
Oh yeah, they'll move.
Because I think Jota can go in. Jota can play in the right, can play in the left. I think Maeda and Kyogo can both go through the middle. They can both play wide. So I think they'll interchange throughout the match, and it'll bamboozle defences, and it'll not be a rigid front three, but I think it'll be a potent front three that's going to cause a lot of damage in the second half of the season.
It's quite exciting, isn't it? Especially
very exciting.
Like, Mieta, like, he was linked, I think it was from early on, around about November. I kind of started gathering traction that he was coming. Same with Hatate. And just to build up to getting these players in, the Celtic social media team did a fantastic job. That wee teaser video and all, they're getting on the ball as well in terms of what the fans, kind of the content they want to see. And one thing I noticed about Mieta, even like when he's playing, and I think you're right to allude to, he looks stronger, more physical than Kyogo. He looks like he can hold the sprint longer. I think in the list of top 10 sprints in the J League, he's 8 of them. So that type of player would be key to Postecoglou's style, wouldn't it? Especially the injury types of things. He seems like a player who wouldn't be susceptible to them hamstring injuries. Touch wood.
Well, I mean, you can't guarantee that, but if he plays with it, like we've said, he looks like the same sort of style of player as Kyogo. If he plays with that same energy and stuff, if Kyogo needs a break, then you're not losing in the team as such the way we want to play. Whereas in the first half of the season, if Kyogo was at the team, it totally changed the full makeup of the starting 11, the way we played, the way we pressed for the front, the way we put teams under pressure. So hopefully if Kyogo comes out the team or Maeda comes out the team, then you're still going to have one or both in the team, hopefully, and you're not going to lose the way we want to play. So that adds to it as well. I'm really trying to curb my excitement because you just didn't want to fall flat in your face. I want to see the guy playing first, but it's very difficult not to get excited when you look at his reels compared to like other reels that you've watched are that players that Celtic have brought in recently are no anywhere near as good as the reels he's got. It's just excites me so much, and I can't wait to see him playing for us.
I think out of all the kind of highlight reels I've watched, he's probably the most exciting in terms of signings. But I mean, most of the media in Japan, like the sports kind of people over there, are kind of covering the Hatate one quite closely. He seems to be the most highly rated, coming from the J League champions. I think it was Kawasaki Frontier or something. Like, I'm probably getting that totally wrong, Ross, but it's definitely that kind of name anyway. But they're all saying he's the guy with a bright future, could earn Celtic a shed load of money if he kind of beds in quickly. And yes, he played left back, but he's more of a centre attacking midfielder, according to Postecoglou. He would know him obviously better than any of us. But him coming in, I've watched his kind of YouTube stuff. I've watched him in interviews as well. And he said in one of his interviews joining Celtic that his kind of previous kind of silverware he won with his old club isn't in his head no more. He just wants to focus on winning with Celtic. And them types of players, that kind of attitude is what we need. And do you think in the midfield, we're looking at it now, could be McGregor, Hatate, and Rodzic? Me personally, I don't see much more games for Rodzic and Turnbull going to play together.
It's difficult to say. I don't know exactly the type of player he is. I don't know personally. I don't know enough about him to know how he's going to fit into the team. But I don't think you'll. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but I don't think you'll see him in the starting 11 on Monday night. But saying that, Turnbull won't be fit, so you never know. He could be impressed. He could be because Turnbull's no fit. It might be McGregor, Rogic, and Hatate.
Yeah.
It could be.
That's quite exciting.
You certainly get to see two of the Japanese guys out of the three, hopefully on Monday night. I think even if he doesn't start, I think he'll come off the bench at some point. So I just can't wait for the season to get up and running again. You just miss it, don't you?
Oh, it's been such a drag, Ross. I know we did some good content over the Christmas period. I mean, the Chase episode was fantastic. Everyone got involved with it, and we released the Ross McCall stuff. But see, getting down to talking about Celtic and knowing they're going to be playing again in front of a full crowd, that's what it's all about for me. Do you know what I mean? That winter break, yes, it was obviously the right idea by it was 10 member clubs out of 12 that voted to bring it forward. Fair play to them for getting that done. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean when I say that, but it's what was needed. I mean, fans need to be in football stadiums. And Postecoglou said it perfectly. He said the fans they're not a separate identity from football. They're there supporting the club. They need to be there. That's the way it should always be. But another one of the Japanese players is Urugichi. Now, he's had previous experience in Britain with Leeds. He was on loan in Germany. Didn't work out. He got a bad ACL injury, I believe. But I mean, I listened to one of the other podcasts, and they had an expert on from Japan, and he said if he's on his day, he can be unplayable from that centre defensive midfield position. So again, it's another exciting signing, another unknown quantity, isn't it?
Aye, and it seems to be another forward-thinking player.
Yep.
He's certainly going. He's going top heavy. Let's say. The front three and the middle three he's got a lot of options there now, I feel. You look at the front three, like you've got obviously the three we've spoke about, then you've got Abada, Forrest, Mikey Johnston, who I'm not his biggest fan, but as you know, but I mean, it's still another 3 options. And then the midfield, we've got Beaton can come in, you've got McCarthy. So there is depth. You're starting to see a bit of depth there. I'm not saying that McCarthy has set the heather on fire, but he's still there. He can do a job in the middle of the park for us and domestic. And then you've got the 2 guys that have came in as well. So we've certainly got a lot of options. And then even like the defence, you've got Juranovic can play left back. You've got what do you call him? This new Japanese guy, Hatate. He can come in there.
Hatate play left back. Yeah.
You've got Taylor. You've got Scales can play there. A lot of options there. On the right, you've got Ralston and Juranovic. You've got Welsh, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Big Julian's coming back.
Yep.
So I mean, I think we've got like the makings of a good squad. It's going to be enough bodies in there to help us with this title tilt, and I think we've got every chance. And I just can't wait to get back into it and get to the 2nd of January, 2nd of February, and just really have a right good go. And hope I don't actually. Do you know? I don't actually know the situation with international call-ups and stuff. If we're going to have a full quota to pick for, or if there's going to be guys away.
Going by your man, I think it's Dan Orwitz, the Japanese kind of person who does the football, he said that Kyogo's nailed on to be called up. Hatate is about 70%. Mieda's about 50% to be called up, and then Urugaichi, there's no chance he's being called up. So we'll at least have one of them. Do you know what I mean? So there's one player. Rodzik, he'll be away, definitely with Australia. I mean, Postecoglou did say in one of his press conferences recently he's planning that fixture without them players. So that kind of points to the signals that we're all thinking, isn't it?
That's worrying. That's going to be another. Well, Rangers might have a couple of players away as well, but I think the only one that they'll probably miss properly is Aribo. But that's going to be another Glasgow derby where they're probably going to face a Celtic not at full strength.
Yep.
We just need to get a result in that game, hopefully. I didn't realise that was the situation there. I was hoping beyond hope that nobody was going to be going away. I thought I'd heard something about the guys. It was only guys that played in the J League that were going to be called up.
That's for friendly games during the month of January. It's only domestic based players.
Right,
but the rules change when it goes to it's World Cup qualifiers, they say, in February, so they're important fixtures for Japan. But I mean, looking at you mentioned players on the comeback trail will be like new signings. James Forrest, first one to note, but the big one, I think anyway, is Christopher Julian. I think him coming back, him up to full fitness, and this is not passion on Starfelt. It really isn't. I mean, I did give him grief at the start. Yes, I thought he wasn't good enough. I thought he was literally mistakes everywhere, giving the ball away in simple situations. But gradually, he came on the game, was playing really well there towards the end of the year. Had another few FA games, but that's fair enough. I just think Julian and Carter Vickers could be a solid centre defensive partnership, couldn't they?
I have to totally agree with that. I think he's not going to come in straight away and just go into the team on Monday night. I just can't see that. I think he played in a kind of bounce game last night at Airdrie Stadium, I think it was.
Lennox Town.
Oh, was it? I thought it was it. Aye, no, it was. Aye, sorry, it was. But he's played in that. I don't see him going straight into the team for the Hibs game. But I think going forward, I think that could be our best partnership. I just think when he was partnering Ayer at the start of last season, we were screaming out for a ball-winning centre-half, and we got one in Duffy. For whatever reason, it didn't work. Just nothing worked last year. We're all fully aware of that. We'll not go over it again. But I just think Cameron Carter-Vickers is a great foil for him, and I think having him in the team benefits as well. Cause like games like Livingston game or the St Mirren game where we drop points, he's dangerous in the box. He can get you a goal. I just think that's a big option for us if he's playing as well. So for me, a fit Julian, I would play him before Starfelt, and at the moment, I would pick Stephen Welsh before Starfelt as well.
Oh, that's a big shout. Really?
I would. Oh, I would. Definitely. I don't even. It's not even
shout.
up for discussion for me.
So do you not rate Starfelt though? Or
it's not that I don't rate him. I think he started to come onto a game a wee bit, but he's going through a bit of a moment again, and there's always moments in games where it's dodgy. He either causes a goal or nearly causes a goal. Stephen Welsh has come in. He came in at a time when the Celtic team was in disarray, and he barely put a foot wrong. I don't think he makes a mistake in the match where you go, oh my God, I can't believe he's just done that. He's just steady. I think Starfelt is more susceptible to mistakes, and for me, I would play Stephen Welsh before him. I just think he's playing me a bit more confidence. He looks steadier, and I think that alongside Carter Vickers, he helps him through the game. And I just think he looks he's not like a better defender. He just looks more reliable than now. I don't think he's a better player. I just think you can rely on him more at the moment. But then if you take Starfelt out of the team, it's going to knock his confidence. And is he going to recover for that?
Yeah,
it's up to Ange. But
it's a big shout there, Ross. It's a big shout. I'd be
maybe not a lot of guys will agree with that.
I'd be interested to see what people would say in the comments on YouTube anyway, to see if they agree with that, because I thought Starfelt up until the last sort of 2 games he's been playing at a decent level. I know what you mean. There's always these moments where he makes these rash decisions, gives away a penalty kick here and there, and they all go. But Welsh, again, another cracking young player, and I'm glad Celtic didn't let him go. I know Udinese, they put a bid in for him. I'm glad that they bidded that out straight away. So a young prospect for the future, who I personally believe, like, the last 6 months this season, next season, he'll probably be becoming a regular starter more and more and more. So it'd be good to see. But another signing that came in was Kenny from Sligo Rovers, which another people thought he was for the B team, but it looks like Postecoglou's basically confirmed he'll be challenging for the first team positions with Kyogo, the strikers. Young guy. What I've heard about him, people comparing him to the likes of Michael Owen with the pace, getting in behind, striking the ball well, good clean finish. By all prospects, a project player, but maybe at a push could do a job.
I think he probably will be a project player. Certainly, I think he'll play a bit part role. Certainly, the second half of this season. Just he'll be in and around the first team squad. I've no doubt about that. But I think you'll maybe see him coming in, and like the Scottish Cup game against, I can't mind who we're playing. Is it Alloa or something?
It is Alloa. It is
Alloa. He might come in for that. And he come into games, if the game's won, he might get a wee run out. I don't think he's going to be playing for the start anytime soon, but by all accounts, a good prospect, another guy for the future. But how many guys have we signed like this, and then they've been for the future, and then they just disappear, and then they end up elsewhere? I mean, look at Liam Shaw. He's away to Motherwell.
But I think
I'm not saying he won't. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm not saying he won't cut it at Celtic. No, by any stretch. It's too soon to judge guys like that. But I don't get as excited when you see us bringing guys like Kenny and Scales and all that in, because my first feeling is these guys have got to come in. They'll be talked up. They're for the future, and then it just doesn't happen. And then we have to bring other guys in for the here and now, further down the line, when you would have expected guys like that to be featured in the team, but they've just went elsewhere. I don't know. It's just one of the things that happens in football. It's not just at our club.
Another thing as well, I find quite baffling. Celtic's track record from signing players from Ireland isn't quite good at the minute. I mean, Luke O'Connell doesn't get a look in. Jonathan Afolabi, striker, he's 21 now. I think he's on loan to Ur in the Championship. Doesn't get a look in. And then we had John Joe Kenny, the most boring right back I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Just absolutely atrocious. But hopefully this Kenny comes and proves us all wrong. And as you said, yes, by all counts a project player, but getting them kind of games against Alloa, we might see a player in there. I mean, by all counts, he's scored some cracking goals. Do you know what I mean? Some belting goals. So
I think he's got a bit of turny pace in that as well, eh? But I mean, you look at like when we brought Klamala and guys like that in as well. It's the same story. We actually paid quite a bit of money for him, I think.
yeah, £3 million.
He came in. He played in the Scottish Cup tie. I think that was his debut. Can't remember who it was against. It was away tie against a lower team. I can't remember. But that game, like, it's all right for me to say in hindsight now, but after that game, I was like, nah, this guy's not going to be good enough. You just know right away that sometimes, and he was just one of the guys. Every club makes signings like that and that don't work. But if you get 60-70% of them right, then you're going to be successful, hopefully.
Some clubs will pay like 30 million for a project player. You can only imagine Celtic being that kind of territory. We would fold if we paid that kind of money for a project player. It'd be insane. But I mean, you look at the likes of Kenny, and then I do hope he proves it, because we've had some luck with project players before, like if Wanyama, Van Dijk came in as a kind of project player and went on for big money. I'm not trying to sell Kenny by all means here. Like, I'm just saying that's kind of my hopes for him. So here's hoping for the boy. But before we move on from signings and obviously comebacks, what's your opinion on James Forrest? Where does he lie in all this? Because for me, he's a Celtic legend. There's still people out there who still don't really rate him. I think he's fantastic, and it baffles me how Forrest gets half the grief that he does. But just looking at the signings, Ross, it looks like he might not be first choice, if you know what I mean.
Well, he might not be first choice, but it's up to him. If James Forrest gets fit, like 100% fit, and is firing and playing to the top level of James Forrest, then he can absolutely get in that team, because
no doubt.
Well, I think he's a tremendous player, and I'm the same as you. I don't understand. When he was younger, like, sometimes he did go missing in games, but he was coming up. He was growing up. He was learning his trade, and then in his peak years, he's almost at the other side of him now, touching 30. I think he maybe is 30. But in his peak years for Celtic, he has been nothing short of outstanding. And his peak years were the Rodgers era, going on to the Neil Lennon early part of it. Even the first part of Neil Lennon's era. Aye, early part of it. But even like, I just think he's been outstanding in his peak years for Celtic, and he couldn't have done any more. And he's come up with big goals, left, right, and centre. Winners in Celtic and Rangers games.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't speak highly enough of James Forrest. And if he gets fully fit and firing on all cylinders, then whoever wants to get into that right side of the front three, they've got a fight in their hands.
Oh yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because I'm just basically going off the kind of facts that I seen Mieta play on the left. That was mainly for his old club, and then Jada can play on the right, and then Kogo for the middle. That's where I think Celtic will line up when they have them free available. But as you said, James Forrest on his day when he's bang on it, he's unplayable. Like, so he can get in that team no problem if he wants to. I'm just coming at it from an angle, Ross, of where you can see maybe Forrest not playing the role that he has done for Celtic in previous years.
But then you can sort of expect that, because he's like that sim 30 now, so they maybe will start to like reduce his like amount of games that he's playing, and we've got that depth now in that front three that we can rotate it, and we can start with Jota, Kyogo, and Maeda. Maybe 60 minutes into the game, you can give these guys a rest. Even if the game isn't completely won and they look tired, you can bring Forrest on. You're not losing any if you're bringing James Forrest on. He's fully fit. Do you know what I mean? He's still going to keep the team there, alongside where it was. So even if he isn't starting every game, which you don't expect, he's still a guy that's going to be in the squad, and it's just going to be great. It's a great option, because he's a top quality player, and if you're going to have a top quality player not in your starting 11, but he's on the bench to come on, that only bodes well for Celtic and going forward.
Yeah, and obviously as well today it was announced that the 5 sub limit's back, so Again, that's going to be good for Postecoglou and Celtic going forward. But touch upon one guy you talked about at the start there, Michael Nicholson, the man behind the scenes for us, the guy who hasn't said a peep to the Celtic fans, hasn't even actually come out and give a statement as they usually do with the players who signed. Usually get the chairman kind of saying something, or chief executive, whoever it may be. But by all accounts, Ross, he's backing hands. He's doing these deals. But one thing I thought was interesting from you brought it up. They're not quite expensive deals. They're not like 5 or 6 million for each player. I think in total, the three Japanese lads add up to about 5.5 million. So it's not a massive outlay by all accounts, but he's still getting backed. I've heard a few people going, what if they're doing this in terms of they're backing him? If the players fail, then they can turn around and say it was Postecoglou's idea to bring these guys in. That's being a cynic, like you said at the start of the show. But you do have to think about it from all angles with the Celtic board. And I know I'm looking at Twitter now. There's praise. There's people saying, "Well done, Celtic," but you still can't escape the fact that they're still, in my opinion, they're a board to treat the fans in contempt, and that's always the case for me.
Aye, they do. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and the way Ange has got the team playing is sort of gave them a reprieve, if you like, for the fans to an extent. Obviously, we had the protests with the forget the guy's name that was going to be coming in. Higgins.
Bernard Higgins.
Aye, he obviously had all that fiasco, but other than that, there's not been as much thing with on the board. If Angie came in and Celtic were playing terrible, it'd be protests and that outside. Why are you getting this guy? All the rest of it. But if the team's playing well in the park, the fans don't get his thing with. But there's absolutely no doubt about it. At the board, there's still questions with the board, but you sort of alluded to like that we've spoke about like it's not a big outlay for these players, but you can't really say anything about Michael Nicholson or the board on that front because it's evident that Ange has asked for these players, and if that's what the going rate is for these players, then they're not going to pay over the odds just so they can say, "Oh, we paid 6-7 million for this guy," when that's no what the price tag is for them. So you can only pay whatever it is that the price tag's going to be, and if it looks like they've on the face of it they've negotiated good deals, so you can't really say anything bad about them in that sense.
What way? Like, it's so different for me from the Dominic Mackay thing because he wanted to be front and centre with the fans. He was ringing supporters who had season tickets, ringing old fans, making sure they're okay, all this kind of thing, organising the media press conferences, albeit they've stayed on, which is great. The fans get access to that. I've noticed the one mic'd up session that we've done, there's been never, ever any other thing near that at the start of the season. And then you've got Nicholson coming in, kind of a silent character. He hasn't said much or if anything at all. What way would you want your chief executive to be? Because I'm of the opinion, yes, they shouldn't be too involved in everyday matters and giving statements about this, that, and everything, bus timetables, the Glasgow City Centre, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. But you do want them to come out and say something. I was expecting a wee statement here and there about the silence that would come in from him, but there's been nothing. It's been literally radio silence. What way would you expect the chief executive to run Celtic in terms of in the public eye or just private? What do you prefer?
Well, I mean, I've been on this podcast saying that I really loved. It was refreshing when Mackay came in and he done all this fan media things and stuff like that. But and like the mic'd up session with Ange. But if they didn't do another, I loved that. I really enjoyed watching it. But if they didn't do another one, I wouldn't be totally upset. I think I don't think that Dominic Mackay was too out there, not for 1 second. Michael Nicholson, like you've said, I think he probably could have slightly more engagement, but maybe that's not his character. We don't know. You would like a sort of happy medium, but if that's Michael Nicholson's character and he doesn't want to be front and centre, fair enough. As long as he's doing the job in the background, which he seems to be at the moment. Again, for the outside looking in, no privy to what goes on the board, but for the outside looking in, he looks to be doing his job. And put it this way, if I'm not hearing from him and Celtic are doing the business on the park, then I'm not too fussed. But then I think, like most fans, if things aren't going well in the park and you're not hearing from him, then questions start to be asked. So it's catch-22.
Yeah, and 100% is. And another thing that Postecoglou said about Nicholson, that he's brilliant to work with. And one thing he said in his press conference today, Ross, said he doesn't lie, so we'll have to take him at face value for that. And I give you the topic list of what we're speaking about, and I have on it, there's more signings to come, and Postecoglou well and truly slapped that down in his latest press conference. He said anyone who's saying that are telling lies, so we're not saying that. I mean, the latest player we were linked to was Riley McGree. I convinced myself it was Riley McGee for some reason, but it's Riley McGree. There was a fee agreed with Charlotte, the team in MLS. Middlesbrough got involved. Apparently, they offered a couple of million extra, and then they offered him £20,000 a week in wages. Obviously, this is all hearsay. His head's been turned. Do you think, Ross, this shows? Now, my angle at this isn't obvious, but it's what other people would think and stuff like that. So it's an argument to put out there. Do you think this shows that the lack of pulling power that Celtic have as a club, that Middlesbrough are getting in ahead of us getting the player, albeit no one really heard of him, but Postecoglou confirmed today that Celtic were interested? Or is it just a straight fact of money's made this guy, but like, I'm going here instead of football matters?
It's for me, it's money, solely money. I don't think you can ever question Celtic's pulling power over Middlesbrough.
No. What I meant was obviously.
No, I'm not.
Certain people think that Championship's better standard. Why would you go to the Backwater League, the SPL, when you could potentially get to the Premier League in a year or two if you play well in the Championship? That's where I'm coming from when I say I'm not for 1 second saying Middlesbrough have more pulling power than Celtic Football Club. Come on, but I'm just putting that argument out there for people who.
I know you weren't saying that, by the way. But I think I think it all depends on the player and what they want. It looks to me that McGree is looking for the money, which is fair enough. That's his prerogative if he wants to do that. I think it all comes down to what the player's needs are. If the player wants to be successful, win trophies, play in Europe, then he's going to choose Celtic. But if he wants to make a quick buck, which is fair enough, it's a short career, then he's going to choose Middlesbrough, who have offered more money. Celtic are evidently, we all know, a bigger club than Middlesbrough, but financially they can't quite compete, and sometimes that's what happens. But if a guy like McGree wants to choose to go and play sort of mid to pushing for a playoff place team like Middlesbrough in the Championship over coming to Celtic and trying to win trophies and play under a manager who he knows well, if he decides to go with Middlesbrough over that, then he's no for us. He's no the player that we want. And I mean, I didn't know a lot about him. I wasn't overly excited, but again, it looked like an Ange choice, so I was happy to trust that he was going to do a job for us. But now that he's looks not to be coming, I'm not overly fussed, and I'll not lose any sleep over it.
I mean, I'm not fussed either. I really don't give a shit, to be honest. I've never heard of the player. I never heard about the player before he was linked to Celtic. There was no, obviously, sometimes you would see like wonder kids here and there, names prop up on Twitter and stuff like that, but I never ever once seen Riley McGree, and that's no disrespect to him. It's not sour grapes because he picked Middlesbrough for Celtic. I'm just saying it was a transfer if it happened. I'll be happy if it didn't. I'll be just the same as I am now. Do you know what I mean? That's the way that one was for me. But I think you're 100% to point out the finances, as we all know in English football, Championship, League One level for certain SPFL clubs is too much in terms of trying to compete with it. So that's another thing that we'll have to kind of be aware of regarding the whole kind of conception around wages. I think Celtic offered him 10 grand a week, and for a player who probably isn't going to be guaranteed starts, if you're looking at that from a financial point of view and he's getting 20, you're going to be like, there's no way we're offering you that. You know what I mean? There's not a hope. But as Ange Postecoglou said, there'll be 20 names coming out tomorrow, and it's all lies. So I'm not even going to band about the names I had on. So as of now, the Postecoglou's confirmed that Celtic aren't actively looking to do any business, only if something extraordinary becomes available. So we'll obviously keep an eye on it. But we'll move on to who needs shipped out, Ross. We've seen Ewan Henderson, he's left on loan to Hibs with basically they've signed him on a free contract when his contract runs out. Shaw's on loan to Motherwell. I'm sure there's a few others I'm missing here, but obviously the more glaring ones are likes of Barkas, Ayeti, even Maggie Johnson to get him a loan out. Who do you think needs to be off the wage bill?
Well, as much as I'm not a fan of Barkas, I don't think this window is the time to ship him out, purely because I don't think we'll get another goalie in this window. And I mean, you've seen it already. It might happen again. If we get caught out with COVID, then we're going to need somebody like that in the squad. We're going to need. You can't go with three. I can't mind to the fourth choice. Hazard still floating about.
Well, there's Joe Hart, Scott Bain, Hazard, and Barkas, and then the English goalkeeper Uwalami.
Aye, that's the one. I couldn't mind his name. But I think you're going to need to keep Barkas in this window purely, like I've said, because I don't think you're going to get another keeper in this window. I think. Let me think. I think we could probably get Bolly off the wage bill.
Yep.
It's
funny because remember at the start of the season, we all thought maybe Gully would have another chance at left back. We were all discussing it.
I fucking didn't.
I did.
Oh, I know you did. Nah, I mean, I would probably, again, you can only do it if somebody wants to buy them. But if somebody came in and it was a decent offer, then Bolly, I would let him go. A Yeti, again, we've touched on enough times in this podcast tonight about the options we've got up front. You've got Giacomakis as well. Do you know what I mean? So he's coming back. He's back in training and stuff. So I think we could quite easily lose a Yeti and wouldn't really notice. And again, if we can get a decent, we will know obviously make the £5 million back that we shelled out on him. But if we can get one or two,
we'll need to pay someone £5 million to take him.
Aye, well, there's that. But I mean, that's another guy that you could lose. You look at Sorrow. I'm not sure selling him would be the right option. Maybe putting him out on loan. You would keep. You could put him out on loan, but then I don't know. Would it benefit him? What is he? 22, 23 now. I'm not sure it would benefit him.
Sorrow. I mean, he was one of the bright sparks in Lenny's kind of disaster period as Celtic manager. And what it looks like to me is, I don't know about you, but do you ever see them films and they have the good angel and the devil on this side? Aye. It's like he's listening to all these things. He's just running about the pitch going crazy. But see if he settled down and he played that like kind of enforcer role, I think he'd be perfect at it. I really do.
I don't know, man. I think that for that role you're talking about, I think that Beaton is a better option there. I think possibly McCarthy is possibly in front of him as well. I just think sometimes I've said it before, he lacks discipline. He's a bit of a headless chicken. He's fully like, what's the word? I can't even get the. He's fully beans eye, and he's desperate to impress. There's a word I'm looking for, but it escapes me. But he's
enthusiasm.
That's the word. That's it. Well done, Stephen. He is though. He's full of enthusiasm. He wants to do well, and he sometimes tries too hard, and he's so susceptible to a booking all the time. I actually, there was a rumour that he was maybe going to the MLS. And
I've seen that.
I read that somebody had commented on it saying he'll get a yellow card before he gets a green card. I thought that was a belter.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
But as I say, I'm not sure at his age a loan spell would benefit him or benefit us if he came back again. I'm reluctant to say I would sell him because you can see slight potential there at times, but I think there's a lot of players ahead of him at the minute. So if they did sell him, I wouldn't be, again, too upset.
We could maybe ring Middlesbrough and ask him for Ryan McGree. We'll give him Sorrow.
Yeah, maybe Sorrow's better than McGree.
Maybe he is indeed, but hopefully we will find it out. But as you said, it looks like at the moment in the packing order type of things, he's way down. And I've seen it was the team Patrick Kamal is at are interested in Sorrow. So if there's any kind of speculation around that, then maybe it's nailed on to happen because he went pretty quickly. Kamala, one day he was there, one day he was away over to New
Aye.
York. And speaking about him, the best goal I ever seen him score, remember McDermott Park when he got pushed down and got back up and finished at the top corner?
Brilliant. That was a brilliant
That was a
finish.
brilliant goal. That was a
Aye.
brilliant goal. But I
I
mean, for
scored one
me,
like that at 5-a-sides one time, but I'm still shite.
you just had to do that, didn't you? Compare yourself to a professional footballer. Come on, no joke. But like, in terms of, I don't see anyone buying Yeti. I really don't. Maybe an option to buy a loan because who's going to put their trust in spending 2 million on a player who hasn't done anything for a year and a half? Albeit, I'm saying this, and I've actually praised him in another podcast because in the European game when he played, was it Betis? Would it be now or Leverkusen? One or the other. He played really well. I thought he
Aye, it
held
was Betis,
he held the ball up well until he went off injured. There is a player there, but it's just one of these things that certain players come to Celtic and it just goes to shit for them, and it's bad to see. Barkas, as I said before, a Greek number one, winning leagues
Aye.
in Greece, playing in the Champions
I
League,
know.
and couldn't catch a cold playing for Celtic. Do you know what I mean? It's craziness, but again, it's January. What date we on at the moment of recording? The 13th, so kind of a long way to go. We'll see what happens from here until the end of the month, but. One thing that we are looking forward to is Celtic Football Club playing again against Hibs, and another big announcement came out this week that crowds are back and full capacities are now back after the shit show that they plucked the 500 number out with no science, no data behind it. But we're allowed fans back in. This is the reason the winter break was brought forward, not for any other shit reason that people are floating about from certain clubs.
Mhm.
It's just great that the green light's been given to fans, isn't it?
Aye, it's brilliant. One word comes to mind, and it's vindicated. And I
Yeah.
just like stick it to guys like Chris Boyd and stuff. And this narrative getting painted that we were only doing it because we had injuries. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? It is going to benefit us with us getting players back, but that's not why Celtic done it. And Celtic voted the same as the other 10 clubs for to do it, for to give the fans the best chance possible to get in and see their team playing. I mean, these fans have paid for a product and they deserve to have every opportunity to be able to see the product that they've paid for. And bringing the winter break forward was the best and only option to do. And I can sort of understand to an extent why Ross County done it, because you look at them and they probably didn't get that many fans, and then I think they were on a bit of a run, so they probably think to themselves, it doesn't really make a great deal of difference to us. But
what's their average gate? Do you think about 250, 300? That's being disrespectful. Like,
I know. No, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. But I mean, they don't pack that stadium, and it's not a big stadium anyway. But like for Rangers, like for me, they've never accepted. Like they went to the wall, and it's everybody else's fault except theirs. And it was everybody else's fault that they went down the leagues, and they've not took responsibility for any of it, and they won't take responsibility for any of it. And now they've got this attitude, well, yous voted us down. So a couple of seasons ago, when we voted to like call the league, they weren't wanting to do it originally, and they weren't caring if any smaller clubs went to the wall because they feel like everybody shut a name when actually their demise was their own doing. And then it's the same with this vote.
Ross, speaking of that, don't mean to cut you off there, but speaking of that, I sent in a link to the group chat. Apparently, according to their chief executive, they spent £100 million last season heading towards winning that league to stop us doing. Like, how that's not looked into is absolutely insane. I just don't understand it.
Aye. I mean, I'm no an expert on all the numbers and financial side of things, but I mean, that right down to this vote again, don't care about them, and not even right down to not even bothering about their own fans, and their own fans aren't even bothered that they're not getting in to see a product that they've paid for.
Yep.
It's just,
I noticed
it
that.
baffles me. It absolutely baffles me that anybody can say that we voted for selfish reasons when I don't know what other way you could have voted. I can't actually believe that there wasn't a full quota of clubs voted for to bring it forward.
Yeah,
it just makes sense.
exactly.
And if you care about the paying fan 1 iota, and your own fans included, then that's what you do. But
Mhm.
they didn't. But
I totally agree. I find it baffling how fans of some clubs were okay to accept that they weren't going to get in, as you said, to see a product that they're paying 600, 700, whatever it may be, pounds for season tickets, and after the season being locked out previously, it's a bit baffling to me. Like, and the Ross County put out a tweet saying "Welcome home" to their fans. You're going, what?
aye,
Do you know what I mean? Like, after you voting down the thing to postpone the league, but again, we know that Celtic.
they wanted. Sorry, Stephen. They wanted to play a depleted Celtic. They didn't care about getting into the stadium. They wanted to play a depleted Celtic so they could try and extend their lead that they have in the league. For me, that's the only reason.
I totally get that, and they might have their chance here with these World Cup qualifiers, Ross. So let's not count the chickens too soon. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
One thing we know will be certain: Celtic Park Paradise will be sold out under the lights 7:45 kickoff Monday 17th. A game that I'm really looking forward to. Hibs have went through a mini change, a big change actually, changed the manager of themselves. Sean Maloney's come in. I really do wish he does well there because working under Martinez at number 2 for Belgium, he must have picked up some fantastic coaching experience, World Cups, Euros, that type of thing. So good pedigree. They've signed some players. Harry Clark, funny enough, from Ross County, he was on loan to Arsenal. They've took that loan over and they're keeping him for 18 months. They signed a Belgian under 21 international. His name is escaping me. Ewan Henderson. He won't be able to play against us, but he's building something there, and he has a style of play that he's already spoke about. He wants to be on the front foot. Coming to Celtic Park, Sean Maloney for Jans, it could be tasty, couldn't it?
Oh, it'll not be an easy game by any stretch. The only thing that it looks like you've said there that Maloney's teams they're going to try and be on the front foot, so we have to be wary of that. But then at the same time, that style of team play more into our hands the way we want to play. It's harder for us to break a team down that's patting their own box. So at home under the lights, you've got to fancy us. You've got to fancy us in any SPL game every time going into it. But under the lights, I fancy us to get the result, and it's massive for me because we play on Monday. If we get it to 3 points, Rangers go to Pittodrie on the Tuesday night.
Yep.
I'm not saying that they won't win, but it just puts the pressure on. It's down to 3 points. It's the first question, like I've said before, that we have to ask them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we can't afford to drop any more points, Ross, and that's quite evident. I believed in that run up to Christmas we couldn't drop any points, but it's a situation we find ourselves in. Hopefully fixtures favour Celtic. Pittodrie, I mean, I always thought for years Rangers and Aberdeen games were basically a no-brainer. You knew who was going to win 9 times out of 10, unless there was a freak accident or something went wrong. Referees making a wrong call, Aberdeen getting the game in the end, but you never know. I mean, one player there's always big hype around in transfer windows is Martin Boyle, Ross, and I want to touch upon him. Now, Hibs are making him valuation at £3 million. He's 29. And no disrespect, this is not ageism, but going by wingers, as you touched upon Forrest, they will decline, their pace will go. Celtic are linked with him. Postecoglou knows him well from the national team. Me personally, £3 million, absolutely no chance. I'd pay that for him. I would only take him to Celtic as a squad player, potentially. Do you know what I mean? Not even the first team player. I don't think there's anything special about him at all. Yes, he destroyed Rangers, fair play, but 15 goals this season, another good return, but I'm probably contradicting myself. I just don't see anything that makes me go, wow, if you know what I
mean. I'm in the same boat as you, I have to say. Like you've said, at 29, £3 million. I don't even think I would have paid £3 million for Martin Boyle at 25.
He was a Dundee one to get in the game.
he's a decent player, and like you've said, he did take Rangers to shreds in the semi-final, but it's only one game.
Yeah.
He's not going to be. He could be a squad player, but do we really need him at this moment in time? When we look at the options we've already touched upon for the top half of the park, he's not going to play in the midfield three. He's going to be part of the front three, and he'd be well down the pecking order. And for to shell out £3 million for somebody that's well down the pecking order and would probably feature as much as the young fella Kenny that we've just signed.
Yeah.
£3 million? Nah, no for me. Nah, I think that's too high a price tag for somebody that's not going to be featuring that much. And for me, would Martin Boyle want to come knowing that would be the case?
Exactly. I think there was a Saudi Arabian club have offered him $1.5 million a year. So if he wants to go into the sunshine, then take that opportunity. That's what I would say to him. I don't think, as you said, we don't need that kind of outlay. £3 million. We don't need to spend that on a squad player. And one player that slipped under the radar. This has nothing to do with the Hibs or Celtic, but he's back in Scottish football, Ross, and that's Nadir Shifty, the guy who scored the first competitive goal under the Rodgers era. He's back in Scottish football. What do you think about him?
Where did he go? He was at Motherwell.
St Johnson. No, St Johnson.
St Johnson, aye. I thought he looked a really good player when he was at Dundee United. He was strong, held the ball up well, he had a finish. Just didn't work out for him at Celtic. I was happy. No, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't ecstatic when Celtic signed him, but I thought he could be a decent signing, and he always had played well against Celtic, always caused us problems, so I thought maybe it could be a good signing, but it just didn't work out for him. It's just one of the things.
The number 7 jersey weighed heavy on his shoulders, definitely.
I can't believe they gave him the number 7 jersey, to be perfectly honest with you.
And then I can't believe they give Giamakis the number 7. They should hold that for special players like Kyogo. Do you know what I mean? Larson all wore that shirt, but that's another debate for a different podcast. We'll go on to score and lineup predictions. I was going to say, come to yourself first. When on this all with me. Oh, by the way,
what?
You're not last.
Well, technically, I'm first and last.
I'll push. But give us your lineup prediction first, followed by your score.
So lineup, I think, obviously be Hart and goals. Probably, I think he might go Ralston at right back.
Ooh.
No, in fact, no, I've changed my mind because we're at home. I think he'll go Juranovic. Carter Vickers. I think he'll probably pick Starfelt, but personally I would go Welsh. And then on the left, Greg Taylor. Midfield 3, Rogic, McGregor. Possibly Beaton. Possibly Beaton. I think he'll go Beaton and bring Hatate off the bench maybe. And then up front, your front 3 would be, I think he'll start Maeda, Kyogo, and...
Kyogo's injured.
Is he?
Yep,
is he still out
for a while.
Is he?
Yeah.
Right, well, scrap that then. That'll probably be Maeda, Abada, and... I can't think. Who else is there? We've just talked about.
I was going to put Johnson on the left.
It could be Mikey Johnson now.
Yeah.
Who else? Well, Jota's no fit. Forrest fit?
I don't think he's going to risk him from the start.
No.
I don't see it.
He might go Mikey Johnson, Maeda, and Abada.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
I wasn't 100% sure who was off fit and who wasn't fit, so I was kind of struggling there towards the end.
It's hard.
I didn't realise Kyogo wasn't fit. I thought he was going to be okay.
He's still out apparently. I think it's 4 weeks from when he was injured, and obviously rehabilitation and then training again. So you're probably talking 20th, after January, kind of end of January type time frame there. But what about your score?
3-1 Celtic.
Nice. I'll go Joe Hart, Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, McGregor, Hatate, Rogic, Abada, Maeda, and Johnson. I think that's a
Aye.
lethal team, and the front three still borderline second choice, so pretty
Aye.
frightening when you look at that. As you said, the squad depth is there for people to see now. I'm gonna go. I'll go five. I'll go 5-1 Celtic.
Oh, 5-1.
5-1.
Johnston hat-trick.
Aye, if he lasts us the whole game, no. But
Aye.
I feel as if we're due a big win. When do you know what I mean? We had them 6-0s at the early part of the season. You see it clicking here and then, and once it does click, as we always say, we're unstoppable, especially in Scottish football. It does feel under the lights Monday evening, a weird time for a football game, especially in Scotland. I can see it being an absolute cracker, and hopefully 5-1 to Celtic. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. Well,
Yeah.
I would take that all day long.
And I know, like, we finish these shows with a quiz, and I've realised when we do like a duo type segment, we don't really finish with anything. So this is me putting you on the spot here. So
Alright.
you can take all the time you want for it. Give me your ultimate Celtic five-a-side team from 2000 onwards.
Oh, for God's sake. Arthur Boric in goals.
Over Big Fraser or no?
Aye. Aye.
Good shout.
Aye. So Boric in goals. For 2000 onwards.
Yeah, swap to that.
Right, let's go Big Bobo. And then don't know. Larson up front, definitely. What have I got there? 3.
Aye, Freeze need 2 more.
Libo and Petrov.
You'll come off this and you'll be like, I should have said him.
Aye.
Should have said him.
Aye.
I mean,
I know.
the most blatant one you're missing there for me is Big Van Dijk. Don't know how he didn't get in.
I just think Big Bobo in a 5-a-side park, you're not getting by him. He'll take you out, and
No.
then you've got a bit of flair with Libo and Petrov. Petrov end to end, box to box.
Yeah.
Libo and Larson. Libo a bit of flair, and then open spaces for Larson to finish it. Maybe.
Love it. And as we said, this is our first normal podcast of the year. We were actually both nervous before we've done this, but I think we've done all right, Ross. Have you enjoyed this one?
Aye. I've really enjoyed it. Like you say, we were a bit. I think it was just because we had such a long break, and like there's no games and stuff, so you're just trying to like build up to the upcoming game and stuff. But it's ended up all right. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously for people on YouTube, Spotify, whatever platform, check out our Ross McCall interview, the Chase Hogden Bay special. All fantastic episodes, one's not to miss. And until we speak again, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.